Hello class. So sorry for a little delay today. And let us start. Mm, yeah. So today we'll be having a discussion on power. I hope I'm clear. So we'll be having a discussion on power, national power, balance of power, and collective security. So these are all things which are perfectly needed in order to have a perfect. Of course, hopefully we'll never find a perfect international space, but these are at least been used as in getting a near perfect international space. So let us understand what is power. So if you see power as in human concept, if we speak from human perspective, power is controlling the other individual, right? Like you get hold of power over him means you'll control that individual either through force or through money or through the aggression that you show. So that is a type of something external. So say suppose power is an external entity that I got hold of either through my money, either through my this by space or either through the tactics that I play on. So central to the understanding, power is central to the understanding of politics. Here we are talking from power from the perspective of international region, international space. So this total power you have to enable it to the international space. So this power is local, national, and international. Say it keeps changing. The power of a state keeps changing in the sphere they work on. So in local, I might be a powerful state, but if it comes to the regional space, I might be the second powerful or the third powerful. I might not exert a lot of pressure or a lot of force in order to win over those two countries which are in above me. So an international space, I might be a little entity in comparison to the powers that have already existed since years. So, which are basically superpowers that, and we had the discussion about superpowers in the previous lesson, right? So, Politics Among Nations is a book written by Hans J. Morgenthau. You have to remember this line. So, this has to be with you forever of you being a Pol.Science student. So, and he wrote specially on power. He says, power as a psychological relation between those who exercise it and on those whom it is exercised. So, power is basically a concept between two or more entities, or two or more individuals, or two or more states. So, power is what? Power is something that I exercise on a state, and power is exerted or taken by those who on whom I have exercised it. Okay. So power is control over mind and actions of other person. So this is basically I am controlling you. Either be it through an economic power or political power or what we call the latest concept, nuclear power. I am in exerting and this influence over you, right? So power is control over your mind, body, and everything that you want to be, everything that makes you to be a powerful state in this international sphere. So let us talk about some definitions of the power. So power is basically relationship among political units such as parties, governments, and international organizations. So I hope this definition has to be clear. Like power is what? Power makes what? Power functions as a what? Power is something we call it a relationship. So you in so suppose as a nation A, I exert power over nation B, then I'm doing a what? Then I'm making a relationship. Then I'm making a relationship out of it that I am a powerful state, then the B is a weaker state because I am able to exert power on it. I am exert show my force on it. So it's basically I'm establishing a relationship. So power in international space is nothing but establishing a relationship between two states or two or more individual states. So suppose when A possesses power, when it can make B to do anything. So power is what? I can make B to do anything. So that's when I'm exerting a relationship, when I'm exerting force on the state to do anything that I wish I wanted it to do. So next definition is power is an instrument. Please remember these definitions. These are must if you are writing a long answer. Long answer is what is concept of power and explain the types of powers. So then you have to start it by explaining the definition and types of powers that has been existing and explain in brief those type of powers. So power is an instrument used primarily for achieving states goals. It includes what are the state goals? State goals are nothing but my prestige, my territory, security. And to achieve these ends, a state can use various techniques from persuasion or offering of rewards. So, power is not just exerting a negative force on any other state, but also on a positive note. Suppose A is exerting some negative force on B, but B need not be having this negative force as in negatively taken. This could sometimes be a positive force. How positive? Offering of rewards. So this is a positive concept where I've been offered rewards to be exert uh, rewards to be under this state called A. So power is an instrument used primarily by states for achieving its goals. So it's basically like states wanted to exert their presence in the international space or show their goals. So it include prestige, territory, security. And these ends, the state can use various techniques ranging from persuasion or offering of rewards. So what are types of powers? Types of powers are coined by Joseph Nye. So you have to remember this one also. It was once a UPSC question. The power concept as in introduced by who? It's by Joseph Nye, and he differentiates powers as two types: soft power and hard power. Hard power is basically nothing but which are visible right away if an enemy state comes or attacks. This is basically standing army and the economic growth and the stability my state is maintaining and geography. Geography plays a crucial role in establishing power of any state. See, example, if we see India, on the northern side, we have mountain, the Himalayan ranges, which are very hard to cross and get into the India. And in the bottom, we are surrounded by ocean on all the three sides. So this is what the geographical benefit could do. So power is geography and natural resources and how far I will be able to make economy of the natural resources that my state has. Example, we have seen it yesterday, this production of steel, which was easily available, and the steel production was dropped down, which led to the disintegration or helped or played part in disintegration of Russia through a little half, like 30%, where they lost the economy and the country had decided to be bankrupt by the president itself. So it's a command power. So hard power is also called a command power because it commands, it shows that, see, I am there with military power, I am there with the stability, my economy is growing, and my geography is in such a way, such harshful, so that it's very uneasy to through the land side to get in. And also I have natural resources and my size of population is under control. So I have these many things, then it's my power. See, if your size of population is under control, then the state need not worry about feeding its population. It could exert those extra benefits or extra points in accumulating military or in accumulating arms or in making uh, economic aids to the other foreign countries or smaller nations that are in want of it. So soft power. Soft power is See, soft power, let me explain what soft power, then I'll give you an example. Soft power is culture, political values, and foreign policy institutions. Soft power is exerted or seen in culture, then political values, then my foreign policies and institutions through which I approach the other countries. Example, International Yoga Day. International Yoga Day is celebrated all over the world. If you call it, it's a soft power move by Indian government, by India, because projecting the yoga, the goodness of yoga or the benefits of yoga, which has been only closely related to Indian nation, it has projected it to the world. So it's literally projecting our Indian culture outside of it. So in a way, I'm exerting my soft power skills and making a better relationships with the third world countries rather than exerting any military force. So it's making friends rather than making fearful friends. Sorry, fearful friends. See, they themselves wanting to be friends, as in without any without any exerting force or any aid in return exchange, but rather them being friends with me as a token of this exchange of culture. So this soft power is culture, political values, and foreign policy institutions. So example, International Yoga Day is celebrated all over the world, and both powers are used by the states. Right. See, India has both military and economy, growing economy, and the geographical benefits, and we have natural resources. And we cannot talk about size of the population, but yeah, still little could be controlled. So that's a debatable topic, but still we exert the remaining all the powers to be a hard power. And soft power, we have culture that's been celebrated by the Western people. They see it as a higher strata, and political values, as we have democratically elected governments and we don't have any autocratic rule, and people do exercise their vote, and the governments are established very legally. So, and also our foreign policy institutions are, our foreign policy is very much better. And it also, we also follow uh, this, our NPT is also right, non-first aggression. Like, unless the other country uses the nuclear power, we won't be using it first. So no first use. Then both powers are used by the states for the in a global space. Now let us talk about what is national power. So we've been coming slowly like power, types of power, and now the national power. National power, nations use this power to secure the interest in international space. So we have read already till by now, and it is an ability of the state to control or influence or change the behavior of other states towards it. So you can either control the other state's behavior or you can change the other state's behavior, and you can influence it. So this need not be the harsh uh, aggrandizement theory or aggression policy, but it could be also influencing it in terms of economic aid, cultural space, or extending arm through foreign policies, that your change in foreign policies, a friendly handshake behavior. So this is basically done to secure. So as a nation, I'm doing all these things to do what? To secure my national interests, right? So capabilities. What are the capabilities of a power? Capabilities are types. There are various types. One is tangible and intangible, which could be changeable and which are rigid. Then natural factors, as we know, the geography also plays a huge role, and the natural resources, and socio-economic and political factors also, like what social strata I've been living in, and the political influence, like political ideologies, and how stable my country, my nation is, and psychological factors. Psychological factors is nothing but sentiments. Did this country hurt my sentiments as a citizen, or my ancestors' sentiments, or does it or does it respect my sentiments or patriotism to my towards my state? Are also looked into in exerting this power or or extending a friendly arm to the other country. Then elements of power. These are basically, there are different elements of power, but the various analysts or international experts, they have given research, political analysts, they have given this examples, or what are the elements that the nation has. So Morgenthau says there are stable and unstable elements, and Lurch, he divides tangible and intangible elements of nature power, and Organsky says natural and social determinants. Then Palmer and Perkins gives 7 elements of powers. So these elements are nothing but, see, these are elements of power, and basically these elements of power are divided as per this uh, political analysts or political philosophers' point of view. Then these elements are power, natural elements, scientific and technological elements, political elements, social and ideological elements, and external and other elements. Natural elements are then technological advancements that I as a nation that I have, which could help me exert pressure on other states. And a natural is easily available natural resources and the geography and the population. Then political elements are basically that the how preferable the established parties or the policies, and how have been my relationships the with the nation previously, and how it could be changing in future. And social and ideological elements, basically that what are the ideologies of the government that's been established has been following. Because you suppose Cold War era, there have been two strict ideological bases, that capitalist and socialism. So did I say it right? Capitalism and, yeah, communism. And USA and USSR, they had strong division, the borderline division between this ideological base. And external elements could be my accumulation of arms race, and how my diaspora has been there in the other nation, and how my people, how the people of certain state would uh, agree upon to the having relationships with the other nations. Then balance of power. So we are done with concept of power. Now comes to balance of power. Balance of power is a hot topic in international space, and this has been there since 15th to 19th century. This was been going as in with a little different concept, and it limits the excessive power of nation. So it limits excessive power by a nation. Like what? See, if there's a balance of power, example, in a bipolar world, if there's a powerful state that's been emerging, in order to stop or in order to contradict that state's power, this balance of power concept comes into picture, and the excessive power that could be used by the other state, suppose A state, could be controlled by state B in equally establishing the power strategy, or stabilizing their economy, or exerting equal power as in country A. So this balance of power is not a new concept. This has been explained in Kautilya's theory, and it also been there in Greek city-state system. So Kautilya says what? Kautilya in Arthashastra, he gives this concept of mandala theory. Mandala theory is in circles. So mandala theory is how state, you might have had this IPT in previous semesters, if I'm not wrong. So mandala theory is nothing but how state must maintain its relationships. State must establish friendships and enmity by exerting power. So he gives the friendly state, your immediate neighbor is your enemy, and your neighbor's enemy is your friend. Like that, he keeps expanding the policies, the foreign policy relationships in a mandala, in a circular form. So that's what we call it Mandala theory. And Peloponnesian War. Peloponnesian War is fought in ancient Greek city-states. So Plato has been, sorry, was it a Plato? Yes. Plato has been a product of Peloponnesian War, and his entire life, almost all his entire life, he's seen this war where the Athens and the other Sparta and other city-states have been fighting against the rise of Athens. So these city-states have come together as a coalition to overcome or to balance the rise of Athens. So this led to a creation of balance of power. This led to a new concept of then that they are balancing the rise of Athens with them forming a alliance. So now Athens is balanced by the group of Greek city-states. You're getting it, right? So there are two ways of balance of power. Like two ways you can achieve a balance of power. First one is by increasing their own power and building arms and expanding my territory, or territory as in also the taking over the control of other smaller nations, and also increasing power with the help of other countries through policies. So this now we'll talk about this word. This means increasing my own power without any state's help. See, I'm capable enough of uh, maintaining an army, doing the scientific, what do we call it? This nuclear technology, etc. I have funding, so I can fund my scientists and everybody else and have a better infrastructure, have a better machinery, and maintain a better standing military army. So, and also expanding my territory through overtaking the smaller parts. Or I can also take the help of the other nations with a little changes in my foreign policy so that it could accommodate them into my foreign policy, and they in a way help me balance my enemy country through extension of their power or extension of help of their power to me. So balance of power is either my own building a army or my own expansion of territory, also by help of other countries through policy. So now let us talk about characteristics of balance of power. Balance of power is a system. It maintains a system in international space. So it creates a system. It creates a system in international space where the countries are divided based on their alliances, based on their interests, based on their policies, or based on their benefits, from which side they are getting a greater benefits. So this balance of power, the word itself, it's a balances the power. So it tries to maintain equilibrium, and it's temporary. As see, as this, I try to create a balance with some other countries. My the countries those who have come with me might defect at any other point, or my economy might drop. So if my economy drops, or the countries who were in support of me in the earlier could defect to my enemy country, then the balance drops. There exists only then there's a tilt in the balance. So it's always unstable. The balance keeps shifting. The arc she keeps shifting to the right, to the left. So it's never a stable one, it's an unstable one, it's a temporary one, and it's a safeguard policy, especially for a multi-state system. So balance of power is very famous and popular when it's a multi-state, when there's a multipolarity. We have read it in previous class, hope I'm not wrong. Yeah, multipolarity. And it's done to active intervention of states alliances. See, this is basically forming alliances, but equally the states also have to be active. They also should wish to exert their power, or feel the other nations make them feel that they still present, they do exist, and it favors the status quo. So it does what? It favors the status quo and counter alliances. It's basically forming an alliance and the counter alliance. Suppose if an alliance is formed, allied force, then there's a counter alliance form, axis force. So this alliances and counter alliances is a basic part. It's a basic concept of this theory of balance of power. There's no single alliance forming without somebody opposing it. So there's an alliance and a counter alliance. This alliance counter alliance is what makes it equilibrium. It's equilibrium, but almost equilibrium. It's never the stable one. It's always temporary. It could lose balance at any point of time. So due to its members defecting, or either due to um, the policy change, or either due to the economy, losing the economy, or either due to this increase in technology where a vacuum-emitted weapons rapidly. Then let us talk about models of balance of power. There are different models of balance of power. This is simple balance. When there are only two simple power by, then it is called simple balance. A and B existing in an international sphere, they balancing each other is a simple balance. So it's either B or and the rest of the world uh, taking sides of either A or B. So bipolar world is the best simple balance that's been existed since after the World War II and during the Cold War era. We have read Cold War era yesterday, so I hope this makes sense. So this bipolar world is a simple balance because there are only two ideologies and two powers, Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc, that exerting power on each other, going for an arms race and making treaties, or exerting their power in a third soil, or helping their hand in a regional powers where the other A is held by suppose USA and the B is held by USSR. So like that, it maintains a simple balance, not much thing to focus on. Their issues are easily recognizable because only two nations to focus on. So now multiple balance. It is a complex. It is a complex one because there are multiple events. Sorry, there are multiple elements of states. Multiple states are involved, and various elements of the states uh, will come into picture, and different ideologies, multiple ideologies to focus on. And this is very hard to understand. Suppose a discrepancy happens, it will be very hard for the states to recognize that where could have been a problem. Unlike in simple balance, there are only two states, two ideologies, and the problem was easy to find out. Now, local, regional, and global balances. So this is basically it's based on geography. Geography based on geography, is it between A and see, this is a geography based example. What do we call a local balance? Maintaining this power balance between India and Pakistan, because the superpowers come to rescue or come to the picture and help balance our nations. And regional, so regional space, we call it Europe, Asia, rising power of China in Asian sphere, and Indian balancing, or Indian's extension of arm to maritime source of USA. So this balances keep shifting. So with Asia, we have seen this rise of China, the rise of dragon, and global. Global is a network of alliances. Let's suppose global, if example, this earlier this NATO and the Warsaw were organizations, and the global sense, uh, Ukraine, this power of balance shift, this Ukraine been given help or extended arm by the other regions, and on the other side the USSR was the other part, so they tried to maintain a balance or try to fight. So this local, region, and multiple balances, if you give it from an example, then it's easy to remember. Then flexible and rigid. So what is a flexible? There are radical shifts happening. Then it's called a flexible. Rigid is what little bit rigid takes little bit longer to disintegrate because the ideologies it progresses. They are very uh, rigid. They are very hard to vanish or hard to understand. So these are basically rigids are through the concept of this ideology or culture or the civilizations that have been through and example the civilizations they have been through or the sentiments or what did their state had relationships with the current state they wanted to have maintain balance with where they where they were their sentiments hurt during the previous wars or how were their relationship during the war periods. So balance of power and military alliances is basically seen in NATO Warsaw. So we have discussed this was basically formed to exert the balance in the world. This NATO is an uh, American organization and Warsaw was made to counter the NATO in East Europe. We have read this thing in the previous lesson. So let us talk about balance of power before 19th, 17th century and balance of power in 20th century. So the Habsburg dynasty rules Austria, Spain. They were threatened to dominate Europe, but with 30 years war coming to an end, Sweden, France, and Netherlands defeated Habsburg. Okay, then 19th century, this European coalition began, and Britain, Russia, and Prussia formed an alliance to fight against Napoleon. So this led to a battle of Waterloo where Napoleon lost. This happened in 1815, and Britain played the role of balancer. Like uh, it played the role of a team leader in managing the team on the floor. So this balance of power in 17th century was ended with 30 years war where Sweden, England, France, Netherlands defeated Habsburg. And in 19th century, the European coalition began where Britain, Russia, Austria, Prussia fought against Napoleon. And in 20th century, balance of power especially happened during Cold War era where world became bipolar and they started to fight against or have war-like tension, near war-like tensions. This we have read yesterday in Cold War chapter. Then coming to the other topic, collective security. So what is collective security? Okay, collective security is collective security. Collective is coming together. Security is protection. So it's a collective protection of all states against an aggressor state. Okay. So it is a mechanism. It is also the same mechanism to preserve peace and to stop an aggressor state from becoming too powerful or from exercising their aggression on a country so that aggressed the country which been aggressed by the aggressor country will be helped by the community, the conglomeration of states coming together collectively, extending their security, extending their military aid to the aggressed state in order to protect itself from the aggressor state. So, based on principle that aggression by a nation against any one nation, which could be conglomerated against all. Oh, it's a print, it's a typo mistake. Sorry for it. So one for all and all for free. Say what? See, suppose I am an aggressor state. I go for the other country, then the other country is aggressed by me, and it call for the international help. So now this all the nations collectively come together, fight, form a unity among the aggressor state, and they fight against me. So they fight against me in order to do what? In order to preserve international peace. So the main agenda is to preserve international peace. The attack on one state will be regarded as attack on all states. So if the aggressor state is attacking me, where I have taken help from community or union of the other states, then if it is attacking me, it's just not attacking me. It's attacking my the nations who have I have called help for. So now here it's happening what? It's like one, yeah, one for all and all for free. So it's like unbeneficial. Like, see, suppose I have issues with you, I'll somehow fight with you. But if you go for a help of your mother, then I would be fighting with your mother, not just you. So I hope you understand this thing. You and your siblings fight, and your other sibling would go to your mother, and you're still would be attacking your sibling. Then you are not just attacking your sibling. As he has asked help for your mother, you're attacking both. Not just this need not be directly you going and attacking their nation, but you attacking this your aggressed nation. In a way, you are attacking the whole nations that have extended their support to it. So you have to remember this from your sibling example. That makes the thing very easy. So collective security is a method to achieve goals of security, basically to maintain peace. The security is to maintain peace and to prevent attacks or threat by aggressor state where rest of the world will be unified. So this is uh, rest of the world against one aggressor, world against one, whole world versus one person, one aggressive state. So that's why we call it collective security. So its basic agenda is to protect peace. So and then this origin, this collective security idea could be traced to 1902 and opinions. We are taking opinions here. Roosevelt says incumbent on all civilized and orderly powers to insist on proper policy of the world. So this makes what? This makes a world come together on a proper policy, a unified policy where they have to maintain the balance, where they have to maintain peace and stopping the warlike situations or the real wars. So 1910, Cornelius one Wallenhoven says, this is an essential for international enforcement mechanism. So collective security is much needed, especially with wars erupting and the Cold War at the brink, or the superpowers at the brink of fighting against each other. He says that we need an international enforcement mechanism. So we need an international enforcement mechanism to stop the aggressor state from executing their powers so that the peace could be maintained. So then let us talk about characteristics of collective security. So the characteristics is nothing but to prevent international peace through crisis management. So how do I preserve international peace? By already the crisis have happened, the aggressive state has already attacked. Now what I do is like I manage the already happened crisis by extending my support, by extending my military aid, by economic aid, and also saying the aggressor that I am with them. So that if you attack them, then it gives me total right to attack you. So, prevent in international space through crisis management. Then war among nations are bound to happen. Collective security is very smart. So it says this war among nations are somehow are will happen anyhow. So it's better have a management, crisis management technique rather than saying that this wars won't be happen if we maintain the balance. So this cannot be eliminated. They take necessary steps to avoid the violation of peace. Uh, they take necessary steps to avoid those nations which specially violate the peace in the international space. So these are basically beforehand. These are beforehand. As it says, the war is inevitable. So let us have this mechanism to prevent the beforehand techniques and the collective security scopus where we have powers and rule. the um, way we have powers and the rules that we could exert power on the aggressed nation. So regards aggression or war as an enemy and not the state may resort to where aggression. So this regards, see, it's a typo, sorry. So it regards the aggression, the concept of aggression or war as an enemy, not that state which started the aggression. So this concept, this characteristics makes collective security says that the concept of aggression, the war that has erupted, should be seen as an enemy. So if I'm extending an arm and invading the aggressed state, invading the aggressor state, then doesn't mean that the aggressor state is my enemy. I am looking it only from a point of view of war. I am seeing the war as an element here, not the state as an element. So the aggressor state is not an enemy here. That war that's been taking place is the sole enemy. So because my whole agenda is to preserve peace, to maintain the balance, to enhance the security in the world. So the aggression or the war is the enemy, not the state that exists. So it's limited. It's limited to the elimination of war. So it does not give with the peaceful pronouncements or anything. Then precondition, there exist preconditions for the collective security to happen. So definite aggression is essential for collective security to operate. So there, in order for me to operate as a collective security, there has to be an aggression. There has to be a war that has taken place. If you feel that this nation B has been uh, just like that aggressed, and it needed the collective unity of the other states, where big, suppose these are nuclear powers and them exerting a nuclear, they are near to scope of them exerting a nuclear power, then it gives rights to the nations in the world to form a unity and fight against the aggressor. So it needs more powerful and effective institutions, because the UNO, we all know, is a puppet in the hands of superpowers. So it needed more powerful, effective institutions. But who would look after these effective institutions? Eventually, the superpowers. So this concept is only boosting the superpowers. So more engaging and powerful role by UNSC. So UNSC, why? Because it got veto and it can it's one of its power is to stop war and make peace in the international space. And formation of permanent international peacekeeping force is essential precondition. We all know just UN cannot be made as a sole nation, sole organizations to look into. Then sustainable socio-economic development is their sole agenda, because this arms race, the military race, and the never-ending nuclear weapons, this holding of nuclear weapons, these are all not environmental friendly and also not sustainable in a longer run, where it would burden the states. Example, in arms race, Russia was burdened, and it had to, sorry, Soviet Union was burdened. It had to disintegrate and declare itself as a bankruptcy. So this has to be sustainable, economic, and also from the development perspective. So collective security and balance of power, there's a differences you have to maintain. So balance of power exists because of competitive alliances. Yes. Collective security exists because of universal cooperation. This is because of cooperation. This is because of competition. You have to, yeah, this is a answer. It's better revise collective security and balance of power differences and similarities. Then balance of power. See, BOP is balance of power. CS is collective security. So BOP is policies of major powers play key role, because they are the superpowers. They have the power to exert their power anywhere, anytime, at any point in the world. So CS needs commitment of all nations. Here they just need the role of key major players, but here as it's collective, they must need commitment of all nations, active nations. Then BOP, only few in agreement are involved. Not everybody is are involved here. Because third uh, block was formed, non-aligned block, because they don't want to be taking sides. So they are only few are involved, who those are supporting USA and USSR. But CS, all nations collectively fight against aggression state. So here the collective or union is maintained. Then balance of power interests are common with only few states, because it's uh, because due to the similar interests only they have taken sides, right? But collective security is nothing but to maintain peace. So no matter if it's in your interest or not, if the aggressor state has been doing a wrongdoing or disrupting the peace, then you must go form a union and fight against it. So it's a general agreement. Um, it need not show my perceived interests. So these are differences and etc. I think okay. So this is the basic differences between collective security and balance of power. So in tomorrow's class, we'll be talking about, we'll speak it from example perspective, because it was too huge to discuss in this session. And let us remind, okay, we spoke about power, national power, balance of power, and collective security here. Then we spoke about what is power and what is balance of power and how the power must be viewed. Yes. So types of power, hard power or soft power, then elements of power, national power. Then what are the elements of power? You have to write it in brief. Then what is balance of power? Types of balance of power, models, characteristics, and regional, local, simple, flexible, rigid. Then balance of power in 17th century. Then BOP in 19th century, BOP in 20th century. Then what is collective security? Collective security, then origin idea. Collective security has been given in a charter in UN. So UN charter specifically mentions for the world to have a collective security, to look into if there's been any disruptions, or if there are any the aggressor state that's been went and take against the aggressed state. So it's in the UN charter. So that's why UNSC has been given powers to form the to collectively fight against or issue summons or stop the aggressor from disrupting the peace. As UN Security Council and UNO chapter, we have read that it has powers to stop the wars and maintain peace, coordinate peace in the world. Then what are the preconditions? There are certain existing preconditions. So UNSC is especially for UNSC is United Nations Security Council, especially for collective security, as in maintaining the peace. Then collective security is competitive alliances. Then cooperation. BOP is policies of major power. Then CS is commitment of nations. Only few agreement are involved. Then all nations are collectively fight against the aggression. General agreement. These are basically the examples of it. So you can ask if you have doubts from four existing lessons, or otherwise we can end it. I think someone's speaking. Okay, no. So any doubts regarding not just this? The previous four classes that we have discussed on. If not, we can end. Yes, sir.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello.